Well, after a round of football where, quite disturbingly, Richmond are now in the top 4, we're back for another edition of the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is, Chinese drug cheat, Titus O'Reilly.
Thanks for the intro.
Well, I saw you went on Twitter suggesting that Sun Yang, who beat Mac Horton over the weekend, which I knew he was going to do since Mac Horton had another sledge at him beforehand.
Yeah.
And you've gone there and just called him a drug cheat on Twitter, hopefully hoping that the Chinese government cracks down on you like they did during the Olympics last year.
Last time I did it, I got a lot of Chinese bots attack me, which was great fun.
Yeah.
But I got a bunch of people that I instead responding with, like, I did one about, they said something about Lance Armstrong being a great commentator. And I said, I was still an awful person.
Yeah.
This is the New York Times on Twitter. And I got a bunch of people going, he still would have won even if he hadn't been on the juice, and all the others were on the juice. And I'm like, the reason I said he's an awful person, like, that may or may not be true. We'll never know.
Yeah.
But the reason I said he's an awful person is all the bullying and trying to destroy other people's lives the
cover-ups and...
This is the thing about... I noticed that with James Hird, they talked about when he was doing the Norm Smith medal. It was announced by a bunch of people like, oh, well, it's time, or this is the opportunity for the footy community to welcome him back. Yeah. And I thought, and we've talked about this before, but like, is there anything more forgiving than sports people? They're more forgiving than Jesus.
Oh,
even Jesus holds more of a grudge than these. Like the fact that
all Jesus was turn the other cheek.
Don't let him
into the fold.
Don't let him present a medal, or don't let it start saying they're a great Tour de France commentator or something like. It's this. I mean, I suppose we're meant to be forgiving, but it's just a bit like it's just assumed that the door's always going to be open again. It's
You're
a matter
right.
of
Sport is...
It's like a mourning period. They go, all right, well, how long till we let them back in?
Yeah. And there is a finite period where, sports people, virtually doesn't matter what they've done, will at some point be welcomed back into the fold.
It's funny because Gary Ablett Sr. is one of the few I can think of that has really been pretty much frozen out.
Yeah, he...
and that's partly because he's nuts.
Yeah, there's that, but...
he's still nuts.
Yeah, but mainly, I mean, that not only did he go off the rails after his footy career ended, but there was that horrible, tragic scenario in a hotel room where he gave a young girl...
He provided the drugs and she OD'd.
And she died.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but it's a cop, but that wouldn't have surprised me if he would have been even forgiven for that eventually.
Yeah.
I think it's
he
more.
will.
I thought it was his column he wrote saying that evolution was fake.
Yeah,
probably set people wondering what was going on.
He got most of his info off Warney on that one. So.
That's Warney and him should write the guide to evolution.
Oh, exactly. Now.
Oh, should thank supporters first and foremost.
Yeah, do that.
So thank you all the supporters who have joined up and continue to support us. It enables us to do this podcast and enables us to do the work on the tour and enables us to me do my writing. And we want to plug the tour as always. We've added Brisbane as a date.
Looking forward to Brisbane.
Yeah, it should be good.
Brizzy at what is it? Is it the Sit Down Comedy Club? Is that what it's called?
That's right. We're doing that's on the 5th of September. So we're touring from Thursday, 31st of August at the Comedy Theatre in Melbourne right through. We do Sydney the next night, then Perth, then Adelaide, then Canberra, and now Brisbane. So
6 cities in 6 nights.
Oh yeah,
Jesus, Queens of the Stone Age don't work that hard.
No, we're working hard.
Oh, I tell you what, you know what the after parties are like at our gigs.
Cup of tea and
maybe a beer each. And I'll see you at the buffet in the morning.
It's so glamorous. No, we're looking forward. That should be a lot of fun. So thanks to everyone who's joined up as a supporter. And if you haven't got your tickets yet, come along to the tour. They will all sell out. So we sold out last year and we're on track to sell all of those out this year.
That's fantastic.
Now, on Friday we did a gig together, you and I. It was at the Kooyong Tennis Club, and it was a Melbourne Football Club
coterie
group, so it couldn't get more exclusive.
No, that was as you just gazed out, and all you could see was the big end of town. Basically,
it was the big end of town. And being at the Melbourne event, I thought at some point if they have to do an announcement that someone's Range Rover's parked illegally, it would have cleared out faster than a fire alarm. And we had Simon Goodwin. We had Simon Goodwin there, and we had Jordan Lewis and Mike Sheehan. So there was quite a crowd.
There was like 6 premierships for all Australians and an AFL Hall of Fame between us.
Just between us. They all left before we went on, though.
Yeah, fortunately for that.
Which was a mistake on their part. So that was good fun. And it did, while we were in the middle of it, though, it was announced that the Footy Show was having a shake-up. So we got to announce that to the crowd. They were very excited.
There's been a fair bit these last few days.
In the footy media.
In the footy media, people lose. Like, I think Gary Pert is just resigning today as the CEO of Collingwood.
Yeah, just got announced.
So
first of the scapegoats.
Yeah, so I think later today there's going to be a press conference. So it'll be interesting to see how they spin that one.
Well, he's been there 10 years.
Yeah, it's
so
probably...
You have to say, like...
Jeff Kennett always says that's long enough for a CEO. Anywhere.
Yeah, well, Jeff Kennett says that because no one wants to keep him more than 3 or 4 years, so he tries to make it out like it's a choice.
This is the way.
That it's a choice, not like everyone learnt what I'm like.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand me anymore.
So Purdy, he's been... Well,
shown the door. I think he's been. I mean, it's whether he was already reading the writing on the wall. They got that review that's going on.
You'd think perhaps that
Eddie's not going anywhere, so
we can certainly suggest that Eddie ain't going anywhere.
It's been a disaster. So the last few years, so they've got to start throwing some. They've got to start offering up some sacrificial lambs.
Yeah. And he's not the only one who's been given the flick lately.
No.
Well, reluctant to call it a media position.
Well, yeah, let me ask you, how's your other podcast going?
That Melbourne Footy Club one that I was recording
you're doing
at
for SEN.
I got flung.
And how much were they paying you to do this
nothing,
gig?
None.
So you got sacked for free?
Yeah, I got sacked for free, which is great.
They didn't even want you working free. Now, I understand you did get told you're out.
Yeah, I was told I was out because
you sent a tweet.
I sent a tweet last week that, well, let's be honest, it was a fairly, pointed whack at how SEN are going, both ratings-wise and financially, and I didn't think much about it.
But what was your tweet?
I think SEN Breakfast put out one of those little Twitter polls saying, suggesting what would be the biggest fairy tale in football this year.
Yeah.
And I went back and I suggested that the biggest fairy tale this year would be SEN lasting beyond December. Which obviously didn't go down well with the
station manager.
The station manager, who I would have thought
wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, and may have had bigger fish to fry than me.
Well, this is what I felt when you told me this story. I couldn't stop laughing because you're not on air at SEN. You're on a podcast affiliated to SEN.
On a podcast,
and it's a voluntary. Like you're doing it to help them out. Like you're not doing it to be paid.
And it's on the SEN website, so it does, I guess, have a touch of SEN about it.
Do you think they're a bit sensitive about how things are going?
I think they might be just a little bit. I mean, yeah. So that means, I'm pretty much free on Monday.
Well, that'll teach you to cheat on me.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you, I never thought I'd say this, but now I know how Hutchie feels.
Hutchie was at least getting paid.
Yeah, well, he was getting paid handsomely.
I don't know if you can be sacked from something you're not getting a volunteer position.
Yeah, I know. I remember I got sacked.
That is hilarious.
I remember I got sacked from the Footy Show years ago.
Did you?
Unceremoniously by a Channel 9 executive in Sydney.
Right.
Because I'd been, again, I don't want to sort of just do stupid anecdotes about myself, but...
What are you talking about? That's like your thing.
That's right. That's all I do, I know. But I was doing a thing on the Footy Show, Billy's Wheel. Remember where we spin the wheel and we go out to footy clubs around the country and they'd all the footy clubs would try and win a car. Well, in round 22, I was also on on the panel that year on Channel 10 every 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. When you say the panel, you mean the panel.
The panel
the
on Channel 10.
Panel, not just a panel.
No, not the panel on Channel 10 with, Rob
Working
Six
Dog
and all those guys and Glennie Robbins. And, I really had no business being on there with legends like that, but they had me on every few weeks to do TV news and gossip.
Sure.
And while I was doing the wheel one week, one of the cameramen told me about this new Channel 9 show that was coming up that was going to be called Surprise, Surprise, and it was going to be a heavily produced sort of practical joke thing on celebrities. I thought, geez, that's a great yarn. So I've gone on the Wednesday night and said this. And then Thursday I went and did the wheel. Friday morning I'm at Sydney Airport. I get a call from some honcho at Channel 9 in Sydney saying, how dare you get on another network and blurt out Channel 9 secrets? To which I replied, well, mate, I was suddenly just giving you publicity in a demographic that you could only dream of. And he said, pack up your workbench and don't come back. To which I replied, I don't have a workbench. I pop in there on Thursday and say, where are we going? So that was it. So I did get paid minuscule amount for that. So, but I do like the fact that I've been now sacked by 2 major media organisations.
Well, one major and
SEN, yeah. Aren't they going well at the minute? Well, as I said, I thought the station manager would have bigger fish to fry.
Attention to detail.
Yeah, like their, breakfast, multi-million-dollar breakfast show that's dying in the arse. Do you reckon after this little bit now on this podcast that
they're going to have you back on?
I think I'll probably have...
I don't think. I think you've freed up a bit of time.
I think you just torch that bridge, like the opening scene of.
Don't
Dunkirk.
worry, no one at SEN's going to be there in about a year's time.
No,
it's
exactly.
currently there. So.
We'll go back. We'll buy it and run the joint ourselves.
Oh, why would you?
Well, Gary Pert's on the board there. Maybe that's what he's going to do. He's going out of Collingwood now. He's going to go and try and resurrect SEN.
So he's overseen 2 disasters.
Yeah.
Hey, we should get on to the actual Footy Show.
Yeah, which is far more important.
As fun as your misfortunes in life are.
The Footy Show actually has a bit more relevance to a large number of people, you'd have to say.
Oh, not actually. When you look at the numbers, not a lot more. So Eddie Maguire's announced he's returning to the Footy Show, and Craig Hutchinson's been, as I like to say, boned. Yeah. Has been booted from his role. Now, what I found a few things interesting about this. Like, I actually thought Craig Hutchinson handled it pretty classily.
Oh, he has handled what happened very, very well.
I mean, I always thought with Hutchinson, regardless of what anyone thinks of him, and Hutch, I don't really watch much of Hutch. I don't watch Footy Classified, I don't really actually. For me, I'm weird. There's some footy shows I just don't really ever pay attention to, so I don't really have a very strong opinion on them.
Right.
So Hutchie to me he was set up to. He was never going to win that role. Like it was one of those ones where because it was only going to go downwards.
It was always going to be a struggle,
and he's not necessarily the person that.
No.
Is the charismatic guy that's going to win everyone over. But then on top of that, I thought that was one thing. But I thought what was really interesting is the whole Sam having a huge sack on sad sack
on Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Didn't speak.
He's a 71-year-old man. Now it's come out that the reason was he wasn't allowed to dress up. He wanted to dress up as one of the women involved in the AFL House sex scandals.
Yeah, and walk out like they used to do on the Footy Show now. Here's a 300-game superstar Sam Newman, and he come out dressed as something relevant to the week's news. But the dressing in drag thing is probably probably seen its day.
The fact that he was annoyed, like that was not seen as just... I mean, no wonder the producer said no.
Oh, well, good on the producers because... I've been critical of the production of the show in the past, in that the producers obviously haven't been strong enough to stand up to Sam and say, mate, that ain't funny, we're not doing it.
Don't you think the fundamental problem with the Footy Show, there's 2 fundamental problems I think that underpin it. One, you can't go back to the 90s. In the 90s, there wasn't Fox Footy, there wasn't all these things. So you got to a Thursday night and to hear the teams, it was one of the best ways of hearing the teams because the net wasn't prevalent like it is now. And it was... You didn't get to see these wall-to-wall football coverage all the time, so it was kind of like often you wouldn't have heard anything about footy in any detail except in the papers.
The last thing you would have seen on telly,
it would have Sunday night,
the Sunday afternoon game.
That's right. It was a big, and also you weren't competing against Netflix and Foxtel originally, and the internet and all these other things that now.
And the only time you'd see the players. On the telly would be if you watch them play the games.
Yeah.
So it was...
And so they're never getting that back.
But they're going to try. I mean...
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're never going to get that back no matter what. Even the front bar, which has been beating them, it's only getting 200,000 in Melbourne or less.
It's not a staggering amount.
It's not like...
Oh, back in the day, the Footy Show was... the grand final Footy Show would rate, over 1 million, just in Melbourne alone. Like bloody MasterChef or something.
Yeah.
But... It's gradually gone downhill.
That's not all their fault, though. That's the
as you say. I mean, there's Fox Footy. There's all the cable sports channels. Plus, your phone. There was no app that suddenly told you who your ins and outs were for your footy club.
Yeah, you've
week.
heard them all on before. So then it comes down to the second thing I was going to say about the Footy Show where it has trouble is first it's got that. So then all it's got left really is it's got to be very entertaining and funny.
Yep.
And with some insights into the footy maybe as well, or exclusives or whatever. And the problem I think with his humour is, and Newman's humour especially, is it's just out of date.
Yeah.
And he hasn't wanted to freshen up his act at all. Like, there was no doubt in the 90s, he was genuinely often funny. But also the society was quite much more open to the type of humour he did.
He was a bit of a breath of fresh air then, in that he wasn't a polished television host like they all used to be.
Yeah, he spoke truth often, but he also wasn't. Now it's a bit of a caricature of it. Like he almost, you can almost tell he's just going to go after whatever politically incorrect thing that.
And he
like
seems
dialer outrage.
And he's dialing outrage, and he just seems. And going on from that, I've seen over the past year or so, more so with Sam. Not that I watch it religiously because it's just been annoying me so much.
Yeah.
But so often, instead of getting on air and being funny or entertaining, he just seemed angry all the time.
Oh, I'm bitter. It's a bitterness.
Angry at someone or something, which is why something like the front bar is, while there's nothing revolutionary about it, it's just a bunch of blokes enjoying the footy and the fun side of it.
Yeah, and also they seem like they like the football. And even though we bag the football mercilessly, it's because we
genuinely
love the game. But Sam doesn't even watch the footy anymore.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's been a bit of a certain amount of online pressure saying bring back Trev Marmalade.
Yeah,
how good, mate, and Trev would probably be open to that.
But can you go back? It's like Hey, it's Saturday. Remember they went back with that, and it was they've
tried that a million times. Oh, Hey.
But also, what was funny in that, it is amazing to me when you go and watch old comedy. Some of it stands up brilliantly well, it doesn't age. Some you can see the humour in it, but it's sort of and others just you remember them with the nostalgia, of what it felt like when you were a 6-year-old watching Hey Hey It's Saturday, not a.
It's like someone Music Men, doing Gladstone Small has no neck. You probably wouldn't do that these days.
But also thinking that was just hilarious. But now it
was pretty funny, I've got to say.
Yeah, but there's also a time and a place, and compared to what else was out there and all these things, the people forget about all that. So I don't know how much it's going to work. The thing I like more though is Eddie came out and said they're keeping Rebecca Madden, but Eddie came back and said it's a rebirth. We're going to bring the fun back. He said we're going to let Sam off the leash.
Yeah, well, you don't. What does that mean?
Sam been on the leash.
Well,
I'd hate to hear what he was going to say.
I think off the leash has been part of the problem, you would have thought. But to be fair, whether they change it much or very little other than the host, this is Eddie's great marketing mind and master of all media, is that when it comes back, its opening night is going to rate its absolute nuts off.
Oh, I think it will. I mean, I think it's going to be... I think there's no doubt with Eddie that it's going to be better. It's going to be simply better run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be better produced and better run. Yeah. So that's
going to help. His production company's now taking it over too.
So, I think it's going to be... Whatever anyone thinks of Eddie, he can put together a show. He's slick and he knows what to do with all that. So
I'll tell you what I would watch.
With Sam still there, what's bringing the humour into it that's going to be the sort of humour that people these days like? Well, Hughesy seems to, for me, and I have no inside knowledge of this, for me, he does 10 episodes a year. Yeah. He's contracted to. Yeah. And to me, he just seems so not a part of it.
No, I agree.
I'm not saying he doesn't try when he's on, but it just doesn't fit his character. I mean, he was more the before the game person, which is the polar opposite of their sort of humour.
So, I mean, who knows? But what I would like to see is they should televise some of the production meetings leading up to this new episode.
Look at Eddie just slamming people.
Let me tell you, they're the things you want to see. Put that on. Put that hour onto it.
Pete Rasmussen wrote in, if Sam Newman is not allowed to dress up as a woman, is there any chance you and Serge will give it a crack on the podcast? It might be good for the ratings. Well, we could just say we are.
Well, we are. I'm actually wearing a leather miniskirt at the minute.
Do you think, though, the thing is here, the whole dressing up as a woman thing, it's hardly cutting-edge humour anymore. Like, it's such a tired old
We used to laugh at the NRL Footy Show for doing it all the time. But to be fair to those rugby league guys up in Sydney, they dropped that years ago when they were becoming the punchline because of that. And they don't do that much anymore.
But Sam's done a lot of it dressing up. Remember he dressed up as Nicky Winmar?
Yeah.
That was another proud moment on the Footy Show. So anyway, who knows? It's not as big a news as you getting booted from SEM.
No, I know. That's, I'm just, I mean,
I
the
can't
Herald
believe
Sun
the
had
station manager weighed in on that.
Oh, there you go. But there was 8 pages in the Herald Sun over the weekend about the Footy Show. Not a single thing about me getting boned.
We've only just announced it.
Yeah, well, okay.
You wait.
Yeah, my phone will be ringing off the hook now. Yeah. Every journo in town want to know that inside story. The only bit newsworthy
about that is how, it's another symptom of what's wrong with SEN.
Exactly. Regardless of whether I'm there or not on a podcast that has a tenth of the listeners of this one, just to give it another whack. Surely, the running of the radio station and the ratings are far more important than anything I have to say.
Now, the other thing we should move on to is Toby Greene, old mate Toby Greene.
Oh, he's an angry ant, isn't
he? This is quite amazing to watch. Toby Greene, once again, going to be, he hasn't yet when I looked last, but it's going to be cited. They're calling it a jumper punch on Alex Rance, but I watched the footage a few times last night. He didn't seem to grab any jumper.
No, it was straight to the chin, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just
And, gee, old Toby... it's fair to say he's got a record.
Slightly.
I mean, even this season, he's got a shocker. So,
well, I thought the only bit that was sort of funny about it was when Alex Rance screamed, "Not in the face," as he went down.
And when they immediately cut to Leon Cameron in the box, he had his head in his hands. You just see going, "Oh,
you idiot,
again."
Toby!" Like Toby's already been fined this year for striking. He was reported and cleared for headbutting, but I thought he was a bit lucky there. Yeah. He was suspended for 2 games. For another striking incident in round 6 against the Western Bulldogs. That was that one where a bunch of commentators were going, I thought he was unlucky there. It was a late spoil. Do you remember that one? And I'm like, no, he just whacked the bloke in the head.
It was a late spoil, but it was a very poorly aimed late spoil.
It was. He went to whack him. Yeah. And he's done it. I mean, I've got a theory that you should almost get a stupidity loading.
Yeah, that'd be worth looking into.
Like, he did it right in front of the umpire, like, after all the stuff we've had about punching. Like, it should keep ratcheting up because, like, as we keep, it's sort of like, as they don't listen, it's like, all right, if you're going to do it, it's not that hard to not punch someone.
Well, see, all jumper punches, by their very nature, happen usually right in front of the umpire because there's been a bit of push and shove. There's been a bit of yelling, and you're this and you're that. And the umpire runs in to pull them apart.
Yeah.
And it's right at that point somebody decides, I'll jumper punch him now. I'll punch him right in the scone.
This is a great time to do it.
This is the time to do it, right while I've got Razor Ray standing next to me.
Well, Zorko right in front of the umpire this week just whacked someone in the guts. Yeah. And the umpire just stood there.
Yeah.
Did nothing. Didn't even say anything, And then eventually said, the game started.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Thanks for that. So it's becoming... It's proving more difficult than I expected for the AFL to convince people to stop punching each other.
Yeah, there's been another thing this morning that suggesting that they really have to up the penalties now for this. But
I'd have no problem with that because it's an idiot loading. It's like if you're dumb enough to keep doing this, we've sent the signal. We challenged the Hooley incident. We threw the book at Bug. We sacked even our own executive, Ali Fahall, and now we're going to have to throw the book at Toby Greene, and you guys keep doing it. So, at some point, we're just... You and I have said this before. like punching is something that's pretty easy to identify as not part of the game. It's not like a hip and shoulder where you got to work out.
And if you're a split second late,
it's borderline stuff. But this is
a clenched
especially
fist
these clean
into a bloke's head, you know.
Yeah, it's
and so maybe they should up the ante for the penalties. It's a bit like when you're at school. Like if one kid in the class has done something wrong, and the teacher doesn't know who it is, he said, if the person who did this doesn't own up, then the entire class is staying in after school.
Yeah,
that's the way you get them to you know,
suspending everyone.
Maybe the whole team.
The whole team has to
the
go.
whole team.
I've got my favourite bit in response to this Toby Greene stuff, because it was so obvious, and you mentioned Leon Cameron. Is Leon Cameron after the match said, "Look, you know, he's got a discipline problem. I'm furious at him, blah blah blah." But then said, "You know, we all know, and I know that Toby Greene's heart's in the right place." And I'm like, well, one, it's not his heart we're worried about. It's his fists that is the problem.
And his brain.
Like, he's anatomically correct. His heart's not in a weird spot.
Yeah.
But what is it in the AFL? The second someone hits someone, there's nothing quicker draws out someone saying what a great bloke they are than you punching someone. Like, if you're feeling a bit flat in the AFL and you want to hear a lot of people say what a great guy you are,
just go and deck someone.
Just deck someone. It's like no one awful has ever hit anyone in the AFL. The only person that didn't really get it a lot, although I think he got a few, was Bug. A lot of people just went, oh yeah, Bug. But even he got a few people come out and say,
how many times do you hear after a player has belted another player? It was totally out of character.
Yeah.
No.
Heart's in the right place. Totally. He's actually a pretty good guy.
He's a great club man. You know, he's loved by all his teammates. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he belted
See, I would even go as far, Serge, as to say hitting someone does not make you a good guy. And in fact, not hitting people is actually fairly important in being seen as a nice person. But it's this thing where it's never intentional. They always go, it's out of character, and they go, you know, they always act like, oh, we're surprised by this. No one ever says, oh, it's totally in character. He's a total hothead. Yeah, he belts everyone.
He's a thug. He's a knucklehead. And he belts his teammates at training.
And he's too dumb to even figure out that
this is not in anyone's interest, especially his.
Yeah. No one ever says that. They say, oh, he's got anger issues and all this. And it's like, don't we all?
Everyone's got issues these days.
Yeah, well, we all have issues. Some worse than others, but we all have issues.
I might hit you in a minute, just to give you one to go on with.
I'm more worried that you might get me sacked, replaced by someone. You know, you better not tweet negatively about this podcast, because you know what happens with you. This is your last remaining chance.
No, I'm off the twits.
A flare was let off at Adelaide Oval on Friday night. This was when Adelaide were playing. I say playing Geelong. Geelong didn't really show up.
Weren't they hopeless, Geelong?
Oh, they were so bad. Oh. They really just didn't even.
Nah.
How many times did Geelong have to start a game where they, for the first half almost, just don't play?
Yeah.
They are the slowest starters I've ever seen.
I mean, Melbourne have been slow starters this year, but Geelong, they were shocking.
But Geelong do it all the time. It's like they leave it to the last minute and then they quickly hope Selwood and Dangerfield will get them out of trouble.
But I love this that the flare was let off. This is hilarious.
Well, it just shows you what happens when you let A-League fans in.
Yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for the media to start blaming, like find out something like who is an A-League fan or something to try and shift the blame.
He's a member of Adelaide United or something, you know.
So he's a 33-year-old man from Everard Park, and he was charged with carrying a flare and discharging the flare, and he was bailed to appear in court in August for setting this flare off at the football. Now, Adelaide Oval Stadium Management Authority General Manager Darren Chandler said the man alleged behaviour was pathetic, but praised fans who subdued the offender before South Australian police arrived. So he set off a flare and everyone grabbed him and held him.
Gee, they're not bad, those. That Adelaide crowd. I mean,
they'd turn you in fast as soon as look at you.
Yeah, they're not going to cop anything over
Dobbers. It's going against the Australian thing.
Yeah, that's true.
They just dobbed him right in. You can't go to the footy and let off a flight. You know, he said, this is the stadium manager went on and said the crowd on the northern mound grabbed the individual till police arrived, and he said they seem to be just as angry about it as we are, and rightly so.
Gee.
They're good law-abiding citizens. I hope no one lets off a flare at our show in LA.
I wouldn't put it past them now. But do you think if they do let off a flare at our show, do you think the rest of the crowd will hold them down until police arrive?
Not if it hits you.
No.
They'll cheer if that happens. So this is obviously flares now out of control in the AFL because there's been one in 50 years. Do you think there's going to be copycat cases here of flares?
Oh, you can't buy flare in Melbourne now. They've been taken by all the soccer people.
The soccer people, this would be written up like the person was a terrorist.
Yeah.
Here
it'd be front page.
The crowd held the guy down.
He's been arrested and bailed. But is there any other penalty for him, for this bloke?
Well, that's what we'll find out. He'll be banned from. I think he's going to be banned.
I think he has. He's received a life ban. From
the venue, and then he's got criminal charges as well.
But what's his punishment? Other than being banned.
Well, there's not much else to do in Adelaide. If you can't go to the footy.
No, he can't go to the footy. He'll have to let out the flares outside the Crazy Horse nightclub or the.
He has been, he's not allowed to go there. He has been announced president of Adelaide United. So there you go. It just shows you AFL fans can be terrible too. So there you go.
Yeah.
One thing, the Super Rugby finished. Most people listening to this podcast would be surprised to hear that it was still on.
Still going, yeah.
But it wrapped up this week because the Brumbies got knocked out of the finals. So they surprise to a New Zealand team.
Yeah. They still haven't decided whether the Rebels are going to be kicked out or the Western Force.
What's happening there.
And running that well.
I saw one of the rugby commentators wrote a column saying the best thing about Super Rugby this year is it's finished. That's how bad it's been for Australia.
When your own commentators are saying that, you've had a poor season.
So one of the things that they've been doing at Wallabies training now, because it gets an extra week now because there's no one left playing in Super Rugby anymore, is what they're doing is they're getting their players to run up hills with their mouths taped shut with packing tape.
What, at training?
Yeah.
Hang on. So what are they trying to achieve?
I have no idea.
What, make them breathe through their nose?
There's a great photo.
Or just stop them complaining about stupid training methods?
Isn't that bizarre? That's what they're doing. They're getting them to... There's great photos of them running up and down.
How does that make you a better...
I suppose like it's meant to, like, when your breathing's not as good and operating under that stuff. But to me, it just sounds ridiculous.
I mean, what have they got, a sleep apnea problem amongst the Wallabies?
Right. So the other thing they were made to do as well as that is others, while some had their mouths taped shut, other ones were wearing blindfolds as they ran up the hill, needing the assistance of teammates to be their eyes in a trust-building exercise.
So they're running up hills wearing blindfolds.
And with their mouths taped. It sounds more like
you play as you train. They say you play as you train.
How pointless is that?
Oh, it's ridiculous. And, you're running up a hill with a blindfold on and tape your mouth. And you got Israel Folau as your guide dog.
It's just ridiculous. I can't believe it. So anyway, that sounds like it's going to go really well when they play the All Blacks.
Oh my God, they get.
Meanwhile,
smashed.
the All Blacks were practicing rugby.
Yes, they were practicing their kicking and their trying and their running and their passing
and everything.
Which is why the All Blacks are the best rugby team in the world.
We'd beat them in a blindfolded mute race up a hill. Look out, All Blacks. Take that, New Zealand.
Yeah, we're at a blind cricket match,
Mute running is not really a sport.
The Wallabies, they're planning, they're going to have a bell inside the ball.
Well, they need something, because who cares about that? Did you see Ilie...
Ilie Nastasi.
Yeah, Nastasi, who is a former tennis star.
Very good player in his day.
Now, he's been banned from the Fed Cup and the Davis Cup until 2019 because of foul-mouthed comments and bad behaviour as Romania's captain during a Fed Cup tie in April. He's already been provisionally suspended, but this was now the hearing heard. Yeah. He speculated about this. This is some of the stuff he did. While he was coaching, he speculated about the skin colour of the baby that Serena Williams is having.
Exactly, that'll go down well.
Yeah, hurled abuse at some of the British players that they were playing and the umpire who ejected him. And a range of other things. So he went on a big rant. the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, came out and said he made comments about Serena Williams' unborn child that was highly inappropriate and racially insensitive.
Right.
He also made advances of a sexual nature towards Anne Keavong, who's the captain of Australia's Great Britain team, and he made abusive and threatening comments to the match officials and to members of the Great Britain team. Well, so he's really gone on the tear.
Well, in his day, he was known as Nasty Nastasi. That was his nickname, and he obviously hasn't got any nicer over the journey.
He sounds like Shannon Knoll at the front of an Adelaide nightclub. Now, he denied that he was a racist, and through his lawyer, he said that he accepts that he made an unfortunate choice of words when commenting on Miss Williams' unborn baby, but submits that they were intended as a joke and were misinterpreted.
Were they taken out of context as well?
Like, when people do that and go, I was misinterpreted, like, it's so rare that they actually are.
If anyone is offended by what I've said.
Because they The best bit about is anyone's offended by what I said. The best bit about that apology is it kind of suggests, one, it's not apologising.
No.
It's saying, I apologise if anyone was offended.
Yeah.
But the bit about if anyone was, it almost goes on to say, if anyone was, because they're soft.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's because they're one of those like weak
and it
people.
absolves you of any responsibility.
Yeah, that gets upset easily.
I didn't intend it, but if
you're a sensitive type,
if you're that soft,
can't handle a joke,
sensitive pink type. Well, that's not my problem.
Yeah, that's your problem.
You're nasty. Yeah, I tell you what, the bit I like.
No, this is the best bit. Yeah,
when old Nasty, he also said that he comes from a nation where racism is not, quote, as delicate an issue as it may be in other parts of the world.
It's such a good answer. That's not...
Hey, we're Romanians.
We're Romanians.
We're Romanians. We can bag anyone we like.
You need to be culturally sensitive and respect our culture's inherent racism.
Yeah, and if we want to crack jokes about black people,
respect our culture.
That's our culture. We're Romanians, and we'll remain doing so.
We'll remain Romanian. So I thought that was a wonderful little bit. Just that whole bit about it's not as delicate issue in our country.
Yeah, I thought
once again
that was the punchline.
Building on this is you being sensitive.
Oh, absolutely.
And the thing about this is, it's a bit like the Sam Newman thing, right? He's the first one to always go, everyone's so sensitive.
Yeah.
Yet I don't see other adults sooking on TV like that. Like, when it comes to being sensitive, the people that say that are always the most sensitive people if they get criticised.
If they cop a whack back.
Yeah.
It's your classic bully thing. Like, bullies are always, by nature of being a bully, you're picking on someone either smaller physically
or weaker
or in a less powerful position than you. And then the old thing, you were taught at school that if somebody's bullying you, if you stand up and bash him in the face, he'll back off.
Like Toby Greene.
Yeah, like Toby Greene.
Toby Greene learnt that lesson a bit too well.
It's your classic bullying thing.
Yeah. Whenever I've heard anyone say it's politically correct to go, man, you can't say anything now, you always invariably... There's a sense that sometimes that is true, but more often than not, when you look at the example, it's someone wanting to be horrible to someone, and it's always someone that cracks it if they don't get their way or if they get criticised. So another one that was quite interesting this week in the football...
this is political correctness gone mad.
Football/soccer, depending on what you want to call it. It was the USA played El Salvador. Huge match on the
traditional
calendar.
Rivals.
Traditional rivals.
They have been ever since, I think, Ronald Reagan invaded El Salvador.
They're trying to put a few coups in place. Two El Salvador players, they've been given multi-game suspensions for biting and nipple pinching incidents. Now, Grant Hackett's coaching over there.
Grant Hackett, he reckons he can't swim anymore. He's
coaching, he's their fitness coach. Now, they were accused of, the disciplinary committee ruled that they'd engage in anti-sporting behaviour. Henry Ramiro, he received a 6-ban ban for biting one of the US players on the shoulder and then pinching his nipple.
Well, there you go.
And then Darwin Seren was given a 3-game penalty for biting a USA player on the back of the shoulder. So they love the biting on the shoulder here.
I was about to say, as racism is so firmly entrenched in Romania, is biting
and nipple pinching.
And nipple,
part of El Salvador's proud culture.
Yeah, proud culture.
It's what friends do. I tell you what, it's not like you and I don't bite each other on the shoulder and nipple pinch on a regular basis just to say hi, just to check in with each other and make sure we're feeling good. Now, the USA's striker, Josie Altidore, he was one of the guys bitten on the shoulder and had the nipple tweaked. So not thrilled about
he's copping
it.
Both
he got the whole treat. He got the whole El Salvadorian welcome. It's the El Salvadorian haka equivalent.
It's not one of these El Salvadorian death squads that you read about. This is far beyond that.
You're having your nipple tweaked while being bitten on the shoulder. It's a great way to know you're alive.
Yeah, well, it's the sort of thing that'll get you shot in a Melbourne nightclub.
By the police. Now, Altidore is the striker for the US who got the shoulder bite and the nipple thing. He said, "My girl is mad at me. She's mad at me and she's mad at Ramiro. She's like, only I can bite you. Only I can grab your nipples."
Well, he's brought her into it too, hasn't he?
Well, but I can understand.
This is what Toby Greene's defence should be.
I can understand why his girlfriend is mad at Ramiro, the El Salvadorian, for doing it to her partner. Yeah. But she's angry at him for, like, talk about victim blaming. Like, it wasn't like he invited him over. So, she's being a bit harsh.
He asked for it.
But she's like, I just can't look at you anymore.
Yeah, that nipple tweaking, that's my job,
What a great quote, though.
El Salvadorian.
Gee, so I tell you what, I'll be tuning in, pay more attention to El Salvador next time I hear they're playing,
and also Josie Altidore and his girlfriend. I'll keep a close eye on her.
Yeah, we need to see what happens with them if they stay together. Yeah. One of the things that really interested me this week is they've announced with Wimbledon that there's been 3 matches at Wimbledon this year have been identified for match fixing
potentially
violations, according to the Tennis Integrity Unit.
Those integrity units get around, don't they?
And what they've said is alerts have been triggered on a few of these qualifying matches, and then one in the main draw too. Now I looked at it and went, just 3?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the way they mean to.
Is it? Do they watch a replay of every match and think somebody's tanking, or is it? It's done through betting plungers.
I think what they do is they look at both betting plungers, strange results and timing and all that sort of stuff, and then also watching. Yeah. But they said that there's red flags that get set off based on, I think, betting and outcome that then make them drill into those games.
Anyone who plays Bernard Tomic. That raises a red flag too.
That's right. So that's sort of...
so they're going to look into that.
So just 7, though. They said what's strange about this, they had one identified, I think, from the French Open. And they said what's strange about this is usually when match fixing happens in tennis, which we've heard is rife, because tennis is so big and you can bet on all of it, the match fixers tend to not try and fix a Wimbledon event.
No.
Because you don't need to. You like what's happening here, you'd pick the Toowoomba Open or something, you pick one that's no one cares about.
Yeah, players that aren't, ranked in the top 20 in the world.
Yeah, so an odd result there.
You've no idea, somebody you've never heard of.
Yeah, that's how you rig a tennis match, Serge.
That's how we do it every summer.
Getting on
away all our secrets.
That's right. Getting on to our listeners' questions. Gavin Howley wrote, "Can the Cats use Ty Vickery's credit card to buy a new grandstand? We need a win, and I know how to do his signature." I like that from Gavin.
They
got 3 wins. They got 3 wins when they opened in a row when they opened their new grandstand. Yeah. So obviously now that things have gone a bit, the gloss has gone off it. They do need a new one. Fair enough. I think everyone can. Now fake Ty Vickery's credit card after what's his name text how to do it.
Yeah, and
I like it. Just put a big T
then
and a big V and then write Ickery
and then an Ickery underneath. Gee, who'd have thought of that one, eh?
Oh, that's great. John Hunt said, on a scale of 1 to John McEnroe, how big was the meltdown on 6PR after the Eagles capitulated to Collingwood?
Well, I didn't hear, obviously, but 6PR being the Perth radio station. Who
big AM
radio. They just... you reckon the crowds are biased over in the West? 6 PR are just purely and
I
utterly.
did see on the Twitterers, a lot of the Perth radio stations were doing the, is Adam Simpson the right man to take us forward? And so it's gone a bit. They were terrible.
Yeah, well,
because Collingwood were 18 points down at three-quarter time, and they had Darcy Moore and Varco out, so pretty big outs, and Pendlebury wasn't even playing the whole game. How do you not... If you're the Eagles, how do you not win that game?
How can you not win that game?
If you don't win that game, I mean, they really don't deserve to play finals.
I was in the car and switched it off at that point. It was early in the last quarter, and they were 18, 19 points in front, West Coast. And I was like, obviously they'll win. It wasn't until later I thought, what? How did Collingwood possibly get up and win?
Collingwood just kept trying. To their credit, I mean, this is the thing I've always thought about Collingwood under Buckley in recent is the spirit and the heart's been there. They just don't have very good players, and they're not very well coached at football.
But the best thing about this is Bucks winning the last 2 games is that he may well get another contract.
Well, that's what I think a lot of people are like secretly hoping for.
Exactly. 17 other clubs are hoping that happens. And this will do him no harm. But,
not at all.
I still don't know how West Coast lost that game. That was pathetic.
Brad Carter wrote in, how does Serge's ambition to join the commission just to troll supporters make him stand out from other commissioners?
Have I ever said I wanted to be on the commission?
I said this I said, you go on and you just do silly things the whole time. So I think he's making a good point, though, that wouldn't necessarily separate you from... That actually might qualify you to be a commissioner.
I think I could take... Well, I know he's not there anymore, but Mike Fitzpatrick, I mean, that was... If you're going to be trolling people... Fitzy was the one for that one.
He was the one. Stingen wrote in, will you guys be as well prepared as last time with facts and numbers, or are you going back to the basics? Well, we were fairly well prepared, but we still got a few things wrong last week and upset some tennis people.
A number of things we got wrong last week.
But I don't know why they seem to think we cared.
It's tennis.
We didn't get anything majorly wrong.
We got Roger Federer's age wrong by 3 years.
Yeah, but that was it.
Once you get...
I was making the one he's old.
You're pushing for... He's pushing 40.
He's
pushing 40.
He's old. Right. And then someone said that Leighton Hewitt was never a serve volleyer.
Which I'll disagree with that. He was a baseline player at your US Open and Australia and the French. But at Wimbledon, he was a serve and volleyer.
Yeah.
He could. That's how he won his Wimbledon.
Yeah. So you're obviously right, Serge, there.
Never wrong.
Ashton Barnard wrote in, life is like a box of chocolates and so are the Eagles. Apply some heat and they melt. Will Simpson see out his contract?
Oh, spoken like a true
bitter
Western Australian.
They should be bitter after that. I don't know. How long Simpson got left on his contract? A year or so?
I don't know, but you'd think...
They have dropped off.
They have dropped off, but, geez, you'd think he's probably done enough to keep his job for another year. Unless they really drop off the next 5 weeks.
Well, now that it looks like Brad Scott's not going to be on the market, that's always the thing. The problem with sacking coaches is who you're going to get.
You've got to get someone else.
That's the real question, not should we sack the coach. It's who you're going to get. Megan V wrote in, Twitter keeps suggesting I follow Kane Corns, but I'd rather stick a fork in my eye. What should I do? If you stick your fork in your eyes, you won't be able to see Twitter anymore recommending him to you, so you'd be fine.
I think that's what you should do, Megan. I started following Kane Corns just last week, hoping, I think, what's all the fuss about? And I haven't said a thing. He hasn't said anything.
I followed Corns for a long time, but I don't know. Some of the stuff he says, it's the thing we were talking about the other day, though. He's saying some stuff that, I don't necessarily, the footy media is so all friendly. Unless they're fighting each other over media arguments. That's sort of like you are with SEN at the moment. Your rivalry. The Dread Pirate Roberts wrote in...
I haven't heard from Dread Pirate for a while.
My girlfriend says she barracks for Carlton but doesn't really follow footy. Which dating app should I use to find a new partner?
Well, the first problem I see with this question is Dread Pirate Roberts telling us that he's got a girlfriend.
You think the premise of this joke is a bit far-fetched?
I think he's
it's a bit like when I was talking to a mate the other day.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, no, you weren't.
No, you weren't. But which dating app? Can't help you on that one, Dread Pirate.
Well,
What's it? Is it Grindr?
Grinders.
That's the gay one.
That's,
Tinder's the left and right.
The left and right. That's swipe right.
Yeah.
So Grinder is.
See, I haven't got this app on my old Nokia.
You've just got Snake, which you were surprised Len isn't a dating app. I'm not really. The dating apps all sort of would have
passed you by.
Well, look, no one was interested with or without an app. It wouldn't matter. It would have predated you being a single man, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, none of that sort of stuff.
Your app was your app.
My app was the Chevron after midnight.
Oh, the Chevron. Paddy Tay Keeley wrote in, is the idea of creating 4-year terms for our politicians completely redundant when we can't even keep a Prime Minister for a full term?
Well, that's a fair point he makes.
Well, you got to say, I always think being Prime Minister is these days more like being a caretaker coach.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of stability to it, or
long term. But it's rare that we get serious political questions on this podcast. So.
Well, I don't think we need a Prime Minister anymore.
No.
Nah, let's just work it out as we go along. No, nothing.
Nothing. Just let the Parliament decide amongst themselves. That'll go well.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. Matt Mansfield wrote in, why is it that when we watch the most skillful adults in the world run, kick and tackle with deadly accuracy, he's very much talking about AFL here, I think, and yet when 2 or more players end up on the ground after a tackle, they can never seem to get up without fumbling all over each other. Funniest part of football.
He's got a point here, Matt, and he's right. And the 2 players there, they struggle to get off the ground, and because they deliberately. It's like in rugby league when the player's tackled with the ball and they get that wiggling the body thing, or the legs. When you scratch a dog and the back leg goes off. They do that.
That's what it's called. That's what it's actually called in rugby, in league. That's the thing about it is amazing how bad they look when they're falling all over each other.
Oh, yeah. No, he does make a very good point.
Serge, you've got a big update on a story we've been following closely. This is on the shark
v. Michael
Great
Phelps.
White Shark racing Michael Phelps.
And I think it could even be happening as we speak.
Oh, so because this week in America on Discovery is Shark Week.
Yeah, and which I think
is just every week over
there.
But anyway,
but because we've been saying that for weeks, Michael Phelps is going to race a great white shark. Now they've finally announced what they're going to do, how they're going to do it.
Because we wondered, because they said it. We were sort of like, this better be in the open water where the shark has a chance to eat him. Yeah, otherwise, it is boring.
Or I wanted it in an Olympic-sized pool, and they both come off the blocks. I would like to have seen that one. But what they're going to do, it's simply that it is going to be in open water. But what they're going to do is they're going to put Phelps in a cage.
Yeah.
And get him to swim for 100 metres, time him, see what his sort of average/maximum speed is, and then they're going to, hopefully get up next to a great white shark and do the same thing there.
But we already know, but what's madness about this is we already know
Phelps's maximum speed.
We already know both their maximum speeds.
Is 5 to 5.5 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Whereas a great white can, and this is the thing, can hit bursts of 25 miles per hour. Yeah. What the scientists or the boffins at Discovery Channel are suggesting is that maybe the great white shark can't keep up that pace for over 100 metres.
Well, but the big problem here is the shark doesn't know it's in a race.
Well, of course it doesn't.
So
at what point does...
If a shark thought it could eat at the end of it or something, or knew its species pride was at stake, it might go 20... it's such a... It's so
I just don't know how they're going to pull this off to show it on telly.
We know that a shark can swim faster than humans. It's not even like...
Let's just hope when Phelps gets in the water that...
something goes wrong with the cage.
What it needs is a couple of bucket loads of chum next to him.
It's just
some fish guts and some blood.
This is like saying, we're going to get you on foot, Serge, to race a V8.
Oh, exactly.
Just to find out what will happen. It's like, I know what will happen.
It goes back, do you remember Fox TV years ago, they had a short-lived show called Man vs. Beast.
Right.
When they used to do these sort of things, like racing humans against animals. One of the best ones was they got a champion sprinter and he beat a giraffe in a race, but then he lost to a zebra. But one of the best ones.
Did they ever race the giraffe and the zebra?
No, they never did that because I think that the giraffe got eaten by the cheetah
in the third heat.
In the third race that day. But my favourite one from Man vs. Beast, they got an elephant pulling an aeroplane racing against a team of dwarves.
Pulling an aeroplane?
No, they were just running. You can see.
Hang on.
You can see this on YouTube.
Hang on. So the elephant's pulling a plane.
Yeah. Now I don't know whether it was a Cessna or a jumbo. I mean,
but why was it pulling the plane?
That was the handicap because they knew.
Oh, so they'd given the
dwarves were going to win.
Make it harder to
it was a handicap race. It was like the Melbourne Cup. So it wasn't weight for age like the cheetah against the sprinter.
So they got an elephant pulling a plane to race dwarves.
Dwarves. A team of dwarves running in like a relay kind of fashion.
That is just so stupid. I don't even know where to start.
You can see it on YouTube.
That doesn't make it any less stupid.
I know. So
what does that even... I don't get the plane.
But who thinks this sort of stuff up?
I don't get the plane involvement. Like, why...
They did have...
I thought they would be... Like, even them both pulling planes is still silly, but at least it makes sense.
It's a fair fight.
Who won that one?
I think the dwarves won it.
Yeah, well, they didn't have a plane that were pulling
not. And they just had to hand over the baton after it. The best
Plus
one...
the elephant, fairly probably disinterested in...
Oh,
what's the elephant going? Well, someone strapped a bloody plane to me, and now there's these little people running in front of me.
I can't even swipe them out of my way.
But this is ridiculous.
One of the best ones, though, they raced a bloke against a cheetah, right?
Yeah.
And no one's going to beat a cheetah because it's the fastest land animal on Earth. But what they sneakily did at Man vs. Beast, they did it in a circular...
so they're not as good, if not in a straight line.
Cheetahs, apparently, aren't much good round corners.
Oh, that's handy to know if we're ever in trouble.
And they're not good at sharp turns or around curved corners. So this bloke actually and they had a fence in between the two of them.
There's far too much protection for the humans in these things for me to make it worth tuning in. Like without the the chance of someone the danger. It's like the running of the bulls is interesting because you're hoping some idiot gets gored.
You barrack for the bulls, just like the whole world I think is barracking for the shark against Phelps.
Oh, I've got nothing against Phelps, but just what's the point? I mean, if you're silly enough to race a great white, do it properly.
Oh yeah, but I think. It's all happening this week, and no doubt we will see the result of this. It strikes me as being
what I've learned today.
Biggest sham
is if you're getting chased by a cheetah, turn the corner quickly. If you're getting chased by an elephant, tight to a plane. That's the trick.
And if you're racing against dwarves, don't bother because they're quicker than you think.
They're quicker than an elephant pulling a plane. What wonderful! See, this is brain food. This podcast.
Well, of course it is. This you come here to learn.
Now so we've got to give away.
We need a best question.
The best question we
do.
It's
up to you this week.
All right. Well, I like Gavin Howley's one about can the Cats use Ty Viggory's credit card to buy a new stand? We need a win, and I know how to do his signature.
Yeah, very
well done, Gavin. I should also add thanks to everyone who has become a subscriber, supporter, and thanks to everyone who has gone onto iTunes and rated us or left a comment. That helps us very much to get the word out, gets it promoted. And if you haven't already, grab a ticket to us coming out and seeing you. Brisbane people, we've added
to see you.
The date to that, so that should be fun. And we've also got Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, Perth and Adelaide as well.
2-for-1 tickets for dwarves.
And elephants pulling planes, which is how we're getting around the country. I think you're riding a giraffe. We'll see you on Thursday.